everybody, welcome to the channel. I, here at John's Briefs, I'm here with criminal defense attorney extraordinaire Tim Forshey of Forshey Law. He should do your NFA trust for sure. His Arizona CCW course is phenomenal and you should take it. He does the online blended learning class, has to have some personal component. Links in the description on that. And we'd like to thank Firearms Legal Protection for sponsoring this video and C2 Tactical for letting us use their space. Had a crazy, weird, incident out of Columbus, Ohio that is, I think, proof that the rules of stupid exist. However, I want to talk about the aftermath on this one. And in particular, in the aftermath, one of the people that police shot said he was a lawful citizen defending his life lawfully against unlawful aggression, and the cops shot him. And how do we deal with that? Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, I will also be on your team as a consulting expert, and you can attend our monthly active self-protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below. I will say at the outset, I think this kind of thing where a citizen gets shot by the cops in using deadly force, pretty rare.
Relatively rare.
Relatively rare.
Rarer than one would think based upon what you see from a lot of police marksmanship skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did have that one case of the man who shot an active killer and then took his rifle and held it against, held him with it, and then responding officers shot him because he's holding a rifle. That's pretty terrible.
That was more of a green on blue or blue on green accidental situation more than it was just bad marksmanship and downrange targets. So.
And in this case, again, in the aftermath, mind you. Now, if you go watch the video, it's linked in the description. What a disaster, man! Just a party area, and people are being stupid. A cop, OC sprays a woman who desperately needed it, in my opinion. Yep. Should have done it a long time before. Yep. Wait till she runs out of breath and goes like this. There you get some.
Give her an extra 10 minutes. Right there.
But and she needed it. Everybody else in that party needed it, and then the shooting started. Yeah. And they got to change from crowd control to I got to shoot a guy. But then how do you determine who's the good person in this case and who's the not good person? And he sued, as far as I understand it, if you watch the video, as far as I understand it, I could be mistaken on this, so just bear with me on it, okay? As far as I understood, the guy that was behind the fern, like the farther one away from the cops.
Like I would say maybe 20, 30 yards down the street on the right side. Looks like he was coming out of a building and there was like a fern at the end of the building. He was peering out.
He's the one I think that said he was doing what he was doing was lawful, ends up getting shot by the cops in that. And, off camera, Tim, you're like, man, if he needs an attorney.
I'll take that case. I'll get pro hoc vice status in Ohio tomorrow. You bet. I'll take that case. Because, I mean, as I was watching the video, before I knew that a bystander had been injured, you guys, you didn't know that at the time you recorded the video. You guys were praising the cops for sorting that out under pressure and praising what a great job they did. And I was thinking, yeah, they sure did. Then I find out later a bystander was shot. And I got to tell you, the way that the fire was being directed, I'm not surprised because there seemed to be a lack of concern for Rule 4 of the four firearm safety rules. I mean, you must be certain of your target. How are you certain of your target? Which of these guys across the street are the bad guys and which are the guys that they were shooting at? How do you know? How do you discern that? And the other part of Rule 4 that a lot of people tend to forget is what's around and beyond your target. And I saw him engaging that guy, and I looked down the street and I could see the guy in the fern who appeared to be right in the line of fire. And I'm like, oh, thank God he didn't hit that guy. Well, it turns out probably he did.
Maybe he did. And that guy might have been involved. He was a defender defending his life against the other guy.
He was one of the guys that was being shot at by the original guys, and now the cops are shooting at him as well. So.
Now the cops are shooting at him. Yeah. So to me, number one, how do I avoid these kinds of things as a private citizen? Don't be in the bar district at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Amen.
That's a good one.
John Farnham.
Yeah, rules of stupid, right? John's, the Farnham's law. Absolutely true, but also, I know some people are like, well, it's my right, I can be anywhere I want. Well, I mean, if you want to get shot for your rights.
It's your right to do stupid, dangerous stuff. Go ahead.
Absolutely. But also, I think, this is a good reminder. Okay, so some guy pulls a gun on you, you better be good with yours, because again, if I pull my gun and I shoot that guy 3-4 times, bang, 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 he drops, then I start seeing cops running. Now I'm like, hey, officers, how are you? My gun hits the ground, and I'm like, that guy shot at me. I needed help. Thank God you're here, rather than diving behind the bushes. I just don't know how the officers in this case could have discerned who was who.
That was my point. As I was watching it, you guys were praising him. I'm like, well, those, obviously Mike's a law enforcement officer with many years of experience, and I'll defer to him on anything like that. But I was just like, wow, I just don't know how they were able to make that discernment, and it looks like perhaps they didn't. So that's a call. And you pointed out in the video, and I've got lots of friends who are cops, and I've got lots of friends who are cops, and I'm an auxiliary officer at the Arizona Rangers, and I work with cops all the time, and I highly respect what they do. But this whole defund the police movement that we've been seeing across the country, if we have problems with police officers, you know how we should fix those? Let's give them less money for training.
Yeah.
Let's give them less money for hiring discrimination. Let's make sure that we give them less tools to work with to solve the problem. That way the problem will get solved even quicker, won't it? And one thing I see is that police officers are vastly undertrained. I'm on the board of the National Law Enforcement Firearms Instructors Association. I'm a firearms instructor of the Arizona Rangers. And we see lots of former law enforcement officers that retire and then they join the Rangers as an auxiliary way to go out and help the community. And they go, wow, I was a cop with Columbus PD for 12 years. You can't pass the qual.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're a competent shooter.
And quite frankly, the Arizona Rangers qual is a sobriety test.
It's the post certification, but yeah, it is. If you can't pass it, you shouldn't be carrying a gun.
Have you seen, I made a video of me passing the AZ post-qual blindfolded.
No, did you really? Okay. I'm going to watch it now when I get home tonight.
It's not that hard.
Not that hard. Yeah, it is.
If you have a decent index and just put the gun in front of your face.
If you can't pass the test, then you shouldn't be carrying a gun. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
People complain about the CCW test that we used to have up until 2011. 5 rounds from 5 yards, 5 rounds from 10 yards, 7 out of the 10 have to be inside the 8 ring of a B-27. If you can't throw rocks and pass that,
you shouldn't. Yeah.
So it's these very bare minimum standards. The problem is there are people that only train enough to pass the qual. It's just a bare minimum, and people think that's good enough. It's not, and so we see that all the time.
I want you to remember, if you're a fan of us here on Ask Extra, especially John's briefs, I don't brief him on this other than the video that we're going to talk about. Yeah. Here's a topic, here's the video. So this is just us talking, right? We haven't, there's no script.
Why it's fun and scary, equal parts. So, yeah.
Well, I just feel like inviting you in, y'all in for us to have a discussion.
It's a blast.
It's good. So to me, though, this is also, all right, assuming these officers are not nefarious, assuming they're not doing evil things. And I have no reason
to suspect they are.
No reason to think they are.
Although they might have some entanglement with Ohio State University. Okay. So with that exception. All right.
But this is actually an argument why I think qualified immunity makes sense to me. Were they operating within the realm of their training?
They were.
And they were, right? They were doing their best to do that. They made mistakes. Who owns that mistake? The city.
Yep.
The people, because they put them in that position to do that. They said, no, we want you to go and enforce the laws of the state, and therefore we give you authority to do that, and we accept responsibility for you doing that in a reasonable manner, and if we don't feel like you will, then we'll fire you. So if I'm a cop, I'm like, if I don't have qualified immunity here, which again, qualified is only in a civil case, right? So qualified immunity has nothing to do with criminal charges whatsoever, only civil liability, and it says that the officer can't be sued personally if they're operating within the realm of their training and their authority, right? So if they step outside and they do stupid things, they do things outside of their training.
Or as you said, nefarious things.
Or nefarious things, right? Then they are accountable for those nefarious things, right? So if they decide, I'm gonna use this my badge to gain sexual favors. They're going to get no qualified immunity.
If you think about it, we've talked about qualified immunity before. If you told any cop, hey, by the way, if you screw up in a shooting, even if you're following your training, but you just had a bad outcome, you're going to be personally bankrupt for the rest of your life. You'll never, ever get a job anywhere, and your kids are going to starve to death. If that was the case, how would we ever get cops?
I certainly wouldn't even consider the job.
Who would let a child become a cop if that
was? It's stupid. So here you go, okay, no, as a city, we're like, some attorney, whoever that guy is that got shot that shouldn't have got shot is going to get paid.
And I mean, and again, I'm not trying to be a bloodthirsty, lamprey here, but the fact of the matter is that was poor marksmanship and probably poor discretion. And if some innocent person got injured because of that, they should be reimbursed.
There is a tort there. There is liability.
It's also a Section 1983 Title 42 violation of civil rights case federally. That's where you get the big money from the department.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't have happened. I mean, and maybe that's the department it needs to spend more money on better training, or maybe we need to weed out cops who have bad discretion or bad marksmanship skills. Those are solutions for another day, but this guy shouldn't have been shot. It shouldn't have happened.
And that's why in officer-involved shootings, there are actually 3 investigations, right? You have a criminal investigation, you have a federal civil rights investigation, and you have an internal affairs policy.
Board of inquiry.
Investigation. They're not required, cops are not required to participate in the criminal investigation, just like you and I aren't required to participate in the criminal investigation of crimes against us, but they are required to in the other two, or they don't get fired. And rightly so. So man, I think it's just one of these crazy outcomes that, from my side as a private citizen, this is a great reason I stay away from the bar district.
Yeah, amen.
Full stop.
Just, wow. I mean, I don't drink. I've been drunk, I guess, twice in my life when I passed the bar and my dad passed away. But I was a bouncer all through college and grad school and law school. And man, the stupid things that people do because of alcohol.
Well, alcohol and
fun.
competition for sex.
Yeah,
When
well,
those two
and
get
that's true
together.
too. You put women and men and alcohol in the same room, and it's, man, oh wow. I was at one bar I worked at was an Air Force base. On every Thursday and Friday night was, 500 of these 22-year-old airmen that would just scream, and then there'd be 4 women. And it was just, oh my
Chances
God.
aren't great.
It was like the Wild West. It was just
Yeah.
craziness. Yeah. So I don't know. Good job security for the bouncers, I guess. But it was just
Yeah,
crazy.
so stay away from that stuff.
Yep.
If you do have to use deadly force because somebody points a gun at you for whatever reason while at the bar district, be good with it and then get that gun the heck out of your hand.
And
man.
like John pointed out, Mike pointed out in the video, don't exceed your abilities. And that's why I'm a big fan. I've been a competitive shooter for over 40 years, and I still suck at it, but I still do it most weekends because it makes me realize what my parameters are. How fast can I move? How fast can I shoot? If I'm shooting that fast, am I hitting the target, or are half my shots misses? Because that doesn't count. That's a liability. And then you shoot at the pace that you know you can hit at.
Yeah.
And hopefully, as you work at it, you can increase that pace. But man, this guy was just spraying and praying. Like you said, what'd you say? 0.2 splits?
Yeah, he was really cracking them off.
You got to be awfully good, especially dark
At 30
3
yards?
in the morning from 30 yards away,
Yeah.
and trying to discern your targets. You better be, like you said, Grandmaster USPSA. I would agree. You better be Delta Force.
I don't even
if you're
think
gonna make
as
those hits.
Look, I know several GMs.
I do too. You mentioned Robbie. I've known Robbie for a lot of years, and that's something Robbie wouldn't try to do.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Robbie knows his limitations.
Let me just say, if the great one, if Rob Latham would not be taking those shots, you shouldn't be either.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be. Well, hey, listen, I think there's some lessons for us on the private citizen side. I think there's some lessons on the law enforcement side. Guys, it's a mess here. Somebody got to take those shifts.
Yeah.
But I sure in the heck don't want to be him. And in that case, man, officers, you got to think about the liability that comes every time you press the trigger too. And to me, the liability from that officer isn't, okay, so he's not going to be held accountable civilly because he shouldn't be.
Right.
Okay? But he has to be the one that eventually they pull that bullet out of that guy
Yeah.
and trace back to your gun, and you go, you shot a guy you shouldn't have shot.
Right.
And now you got to live with that.
And it's one thing if he was delivering controlled, accurate fire from 12 yards away and the guy jumped in front of the line.
Sure.
Mistakes happen. Nobody's going to deem that if you don't perform perfectly that you screwed up. But this was pretty sloppy. I'm sorry to say it, but it was.
So,
Yeah.
and to that attaches liability. So that guy is going to not worry about his retirement program.
Probably not. He's probably not going to get another stripe.
Probably, yeah. So there it is, guys. Tim, appreciate the knowledge.
Always. Thanks, buddy.